nakabriton og iyang asawang bulanon
magtiayon sa lalawigan sa Bohol.
Ng isang dayuhan at ang kanyang asawang Pilipina.
Pitong Congresswoman Alexi Totor ang programang pabahay ng mga asawang Martin sa probinsya ng Bohol dahil sa inisyatibong tumulong sa mga Boholano.
About this, the great way that they have the boys who do the packing. When you get your groceries, they ask you if you want a bag or a box, and I always choose a box because then it doesn't roll about and get emptied when we're driving in the truck, and just put it in the back. Plus they always make it so that this if I can show you here, they always double this up so it's a handle, and they put the box together. This box is far too small for what's in it, but the way that they pack it, it's just great. I'm full of admiration. It's a simple little service, and they do it really well, and with so much goodwill. So look, they recycle all the boxes, put a piece of box in here like this, and another bit in there, and that's what they do. So what did I get? Well, I got a couple of little things like potato crisp biscuits, spicy, which seems to be full of so many contradictions I can't go into it. So I got a couple of those, never bought them before, but it looks like they're, well, it looks like they're like potato chips. I would call it, I'm a foreigner, Brit, so I would call those crisps, but then they've got biscuit on there, and then I never heard of a spicy biscuit, but that's what it. I got one of those little, these are tangerines, and so, but it looks like there's an orange in there, or an overgrown tangerine. So I got those. I do like to eat apples, and I eat them every day, and I always use the big knife. I always use the Psycho knife. Remember the Psycho knife going reed, reed, reed? Oh, I won't go into that right now, but you oldies will remember. So I use that, and I actually peel my apples. Bananas, you can go, and it's already packed and it has the price on there, so it doesn't take any long time to get them to wrap it. So I got some bananas. I also got some onions. Now these I did have to get them to weigh it, but they do it with pleasure and with a smile. And I got 2 onions, and they cost 30 pesos, 75 cents. Everybody knows what this is for? Yeah. And these are 1,000 thicker. I don't know what that means, but we'll stick them up there. Oh, 100% virgin pulp. Whatever that means. Now, there's no point, if you're an American especially, you will be disgusted at the Philippines, because from what I hear, you can't really get a good cup of coffee. You can go to PP Coffee, I believe, where they do serve all kinds of different coffee. But what I do is I buy this, it's called Energen. It's probably got too much sugar in it, but it says nutritious oat cereal mix with milk. And I know that if I look in the ingredients, it will have too much sugar. What does it have? Yeah. Sugar in any amount serving is 21 grams, and that is as unreal to me as all of the rest of the information. But you buy them in these, and these are 6 pesos, I think, Is it 6 or could it possibly be more? Anyway, I don't care. I buy them. This is not coffee, and I like it. It's like a kind of a chunky hot coffee type of drink, and that's what I get. So I get those and I drink those, especially at night, rather than drinking a lot of coffee before going to bed, although I never find that coffee really has that effect on me. But that's because out of one of these packs, this is what I was really getting to about being a coffee drinker and coming to the Philippines. This is what everybody drinks, and this is how they drink it. So, where they will say, when they see that you're a foreigner, they assume you're American, and they assume if you're American, you will be a coffee drinker and good at it. So they'll ask you, is 3-in-1 okay? This is 3-in-1. And so it has the coffee, it has the creamer, and it has some sugar. And you got to get used to drinking this, because this is what is available everywhere that you go. You ask for a coffee, it will be 3-in-1. And even this is too strong for me. I'm not a great coffee drinker. Being a Brit, I prefer to drink tea, but this is so convenient. So what I do is I split this in half. Even when we go to Vidasto, my Regaining Sanity Sunday, which is when I meet my Mancunian buddy Michael, and he has his coffee the same. We just put half of the pack in, and then when we finish our meal and we've drunk the coffee, weakened as it is, we ask them for more hot water, which they're happy to give us. So I buy this, and this will last probably for a few days, a few more days than the energy drink anyway. So what else have I got? I get this for Beth. She will take this and drink it from the pack. That's a Chucky chocolate drink. This, now I do enjoy cheese, but before I get onto that, I actually took this. It's an Ovaltine all-in-one drink, so it has everything. Ready mixed malt choco beverage with a serving suggestion. Net weight 495 grams, serving suggestion, whatever that means. So I got that because we did try Ovaltine before, and I remember it from my childhood that Ovaltine was a kind of a rich drink. What we drank when I was a kid, especially when we had been to the pool. We went to the public pool to swim, and when I was 15, we didn't really have a real functioning bathroom in the little terrace house that we lived in, and it was down to the old tin bath, which we filled with boiled water, and that was it. But when I was doing my training for the coal mines, which I did when I came out of school, at 15, and I had a job working in a small clothing business, making all kinds of items of clothing, and at one time I did quite like to do some work on the sewing machine, but never really completed that because I got a job in the coal mines. Now, I never worked as a coal mine, I never worked as a collier, but I was trained to do that, and I was trained at the Robin Hood pit outside of Manchester. I think it was Worsley, but my memory does not serve me well on this, but I used to drive through. For you people who may well be listening to this, watching it in Manchester, I used to get the bus and it used to drive through Salford, and that's as much as I remember. Well, when you were training to be a collier, we used to go down the pit 3 days a week, and the other 2 days we used to go to college to learn the theory behind coal mining. And we got pretty dirty, I can tell you, because we used to go down the pit to familiarise us with it. We were all young lads on the training, little training group that I was in. There were several groups, of which I was a member of one, and they gave you a boiler suit and steel-capped boots, and they gave you a miner's helmet, and then when you went down to pit, you would be issued with a battery pack and a light for putting onto the helmet, and you'd spend the day down the pit. When you went home, for a trainee there were no washing facilities, so you didn't get to go into a shower thing and change into your ordinary clothes. You went home covered in dust, which was a joy for the person that sat next to you on the bus. But anyway, after that, every night while I was doing my training and going down the pit and coming home covered in dust, I used to go to the local public pool, and there they would have bathtubs, and they were all, of course, they were all segregated. You paid your money, you went in, they ran you a bath, and you got into a huge bathtub, and you got to soak in the bathtub and then get all of that dirt off, and then, you know, for a little more you could go and swim as well, and that's what I used to do. But I'm getting to it finally. For those of you who are already yawning, if you could afford it, you had an Ovaltine, but if you couldn't, and this was always the case for us when we went swimming on a Sunday, which was a ritual, we went to the matinee for the movies, Flash Gordon and Tarzan and Three Stooges, all movies, that kind of thing. We went on Saturday morning, and that was bedlam. On Sunday morning we went swimming, and all of the kids, we all met at the pool, and that was a lot of fun. If you could afford it, an Ovaltine, and if you couldn't, finally I got to it, you had an OXO cube. An OXO cube was really made for cooking, and it was a tiny little thing like this, you know, maybe half an inch, a half-inch square cube, and they put that into a mug of boiling water, and with a tiny bit of salt and pepper, that was the hot drink that you had after getting out of the pool. I got there finally. So I thought I would try the Bovril. Actually, if I could have got OXO cubes, I'd have been happy to take a trip down memory lane. This is about the best that I can get for cheese, and it comes in a block. I think you can see. There we go. And I slice that and put it on my toasted cheese sandwiches with some chopped up onion, and let me see if I can get them. I get tomatoes, and this is what passes. This is what passes for a tomato here, or tomato, and that one hasn't ripened yet. But you get them in a little bag, and they stick a load of green in there with the red, and that's what you get. So I actually enjoy the cheese. as much as it's there for what we get. So now when I go nowadays when I go, we don't actually eat at home. We live right next to Nana's house, and we take a short walk down the stairs, the concrete steps, and every evening we go down and have dinner at Nana's, and we have it far too late for various reasons which I can never fathom, and we eat about 8 o'clock in the evening, or sometimes even later. So we eat, our main meal is there. But if we go out, and we usually do, we have lunch, or sometimes if I go out on my own early, I'll have breakfast at our favourite restaurant, which is Vedasto, which for me is the only restaurant to go to in Talabong, even though there are other restaurants. There's PP Coffee, to be fair, and another one which opened up called Peeps, and there's even a Buzz, which is apparently some kind of franchise restaurant which I'd never heard of. We ate once at a Buzz in, I think, let me see, yeah, I thought it was Gindomum, but I don't think it was. It was Hagner, and we ate at a Buzz restaurant in Hagner, and I had marlin fish and chips, and it was awful. So that was my experience with Buzz, probably quite unfair, but a really nice looking restaurant of Buzz, a really nice example of Buzz, has opened up in Talabong now. But I looked at the menu from outside like a poor man, and the prices looked a little bit pricey to me. So anyway, what I've started doing, because it's like we only really eat snacks here. Beth doesn't like the things I cook, so she'll get some food, and Nana will be more than happy to make up a plate of food and send it up to us. Usually the stinky fish that Filipinos love, and out of a courtesy to me, Beth eats it fairly quickly and gets the plate out of the house because it stinks. So I'm listening to some of the dire warnings about what may or may not be available in the months to come, and when I go now, I usually buy in a lot more canned food so that we can store it. So I store canned food, because how can you go wrong? This is what I call canned food, a little tiny can. Now, a tiny can like that, along with a lot of rice, would feed a family of 3 or 4. They would get a little taste of the can, and that would be what they call their dish. When we were running a little kiddie support feeding program before we got kind of shut down on this, prior to our getting licensed, we used to give just a few pesos per day for each of the kids. Now, little kids here, if they're poor, they would be absolutely delighted to have anything that could pass as a dish with their lunch when they go to school. So we worked out that if we could afford to give them 400 pesos per month, and we gave them that every month, 400 pesos. It's not very much, but they would be able, with a pocket full of rice that they had taken from home in some kind of little container like this. So they take a helping of rice in a container like this, and they take that with them, and then when it came to having lunch, that probably is all that they would have. They would just eat the rice. Personally, that's one of the things that I'm not able to easily to do or enjoy. I mean, I have done it and I do it, but I prefer to have some gravy, or soup. Beth calls it soup. So when I go down and eat down with Nanai and I have chicken, it's usually made up in a broth or a soup, and that's how I moisten the rice. But a little kid wouldn't have that luxury and be going, and this is all. If they were lucky, they'd have rice. And Beth, from experience, knew what this was about. So the feeding program that we designed was for that, and we would give the kids the money to be able to do that. Now I know that we have some very pragmatic people who watch the program and will instantly see the fault in that. You know, well, how do you know that they use it for school? Which is a very good question, and the answer to that is we didn't. But we wanted to do it that way, and we hoped that they would get to do it. Now, chances are, depending just on how much into poverty or below poverty the family was, who knows, that 400 pesos would be very, very welcome to the family. So we would have failed on one count and succeeded on another. Interesting to know that the last day that we could have done the handout, we were not allowed to, because it was deemed a welfare program, and we were forbidden to do welfare work until we got our license, which led to some very tough decisions. About 80 to 100 children turned up at church in anticipation of getting 400 pesos for their school dinners, and we were not able to do it because, you might say, well, why didn't you give it? Who would know? There were people there who were quick, very quick, to report any time that we put a foot wrong. So that was the end of that little thing. So what I do right now is I get extra canned food. There's pineapple chunks. Now I'll eat a can of pineapple chunks as kind of like as a snack in the evening, so I get a couple of those. And then lately, what I was doing, I was buying, and probably much healthier, but I was buying corn on the cob, and I'd get a corn on the cob about so big. Then I would have to put it into water. I'd have to boil it up in a saucepan, turn the thing on, and then I'd have to put butter on it and a little tiny sprinkling of salt, and it would be delicious. And then one day I decided that I would buy a can of whole corns, the kernel corn. And so here it is, and I discovered this today. If you buy 3, you save 6 pesos. I never found out, actually, because the price is not on it, how much it cost me to save 6 pesos, but I wanted it anyway. And now, since I started to do this, I would take a dish and I would empty one of these into the dish, strain off the water before I did it, of course, and then I would eat the sweet corn from the can. I didn't heat it or put butter on it or anything, and I've been doing that for a little while now. So this time I got 6 of these, and that's because, for a change, something that I recommend as being food, Beth has actually said, I like that, give me one of those cans, or she takes mine. So we got 6 of those cans, and then let me see, I actually like to have as a breakfast, if we're not going into town, which is rare, but if we get up very early, it's the one thing that Beth likes that I cook, and it's painfully simple. I actually do poached egg. So I do a couple of poached eggs. I have my poached egg on one of these little cans of beans. It says pork and beans, and you can see in the picture, or maybe not, there's a tiny, about this big chunk of pork fat, and that's the pork. So what did I do? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 cans of pork and beans. I won't eat that many, I know, but I also got some, it's called tuna caldereta, and I got 3 cans of that too. Now if I don't eat those, it's totally okay, because it goes into my little emergency store where we've always got rice, and if it was that we were not able to go into Alturas, which is our supermarket, if they were closed or locked down, or for some reason in these very unstable, uncertain times, we'd still be okay. It wouldn't go very far because nobody else is doing that, and so it would be very quickly shared out. So that's my thing. What did it cost me? Let me see if I have the, yes, Alturas. This cost me 1,495, but I don't have any bread, and I like to have bread, but it had to go to a different store because the bread that they have at Alturas is all very milky white, and I prefer the brown bread. And the closest that we can get to brown bread here in our part of the Philippines is called wheaten bread, wheaten, and it's just a touch on the brown side, and it tastes better than the white. Well, that's it. That's everything. I hope that I made an adventure out of a boring thing, which I'm sure that I didn't. But anyway, thanks for looking in. This has been A Foreigner in the Philippines. Bye for now.